Hey YouTubers, welcome back to another episode of Costume Cinematographico, a profile of cinematic costumes from some of my favorite series, television, and movies. In this episode, I'll continue my breakdown of the costumes of Vanessa Ives from the Showtime series Penny Dreadful. I want to warn you about any spoilers for the entire 3 seasons of Penny Dreadful. Vanessa's nightgowns are often uncomplicated, like the one she wears here in the Season 2 and Hell Itself, My Only Foe. Because of the crushed nature of the fabric, I believe that the gown is made from hand-dyed linen. We also see some bits of lace around the neck and the shoulders. Vanessa wears this cream linen or cotton nightgown in the Season 2 episode Evil Spirits in Heavenly Places. The gown features small pin tucks to create shaping and some pretty additions of delicate cream lace on the bell sleeves and yoke neckline. Here is a French nightgown from 1890, constructed from cream cotton lawn fabric with a silk satin ribbon sash and a beautiful dagged ecru bobbin lace collar. This look is very similar to the one that we see on Vanessa. Vanessa is seen wearing the same cream nightgown but topped with this elegant silk jacquard robe. She adds some exotic pieces in her loungewear collection, including this Asian black and gold printed robe and this brown Chinese silk top and pants seen here in the episode from Season 1, Possession. Here's another Chinese robe from Season 3. It seems likely that maybe Sir Malcolm would have given these items to Vanessa as a present from his travels. Here are 2 examples of actual Chinese silk and metal robes. The one on the left is early 20th century, while the one on the right dates from between 1890 and 1910. Here's another style robe looking like it was crafted from one sari. The robe is golden brown silk and it's printed with golden squares and gold silk floss and trimmed with brown and gold ribbon. In this promo shot, we get a much better look at the robe. It features a red silk lining. As well, we can see Vanessa's black silk corset cover, a simply tailored sleeveless bodice. This additional layer of clothing was worn over the corset as a protective layer to smooth out the lines of the corset and to keep the outer garment clean. She wears it here in Season 3, Episode 7. Here is another version of a corset cover. This one's style with a button-down front, and it's worn with a burgundy silk petticoat with satin stripes. The neckline is trimmed with a narrow black lace. In a lighter moment, Vanessa lets her guard down for a moment in this sweet white corset cover with white lace trim and white buttons. In the Season 3 episode Ebb Tide, we have a peek at Vanessa's chemise, corset, and petticoat. Unlike the corset cover, the chemise was worn under the corset to keep the tight-fitting garment clean and also to prevent chafing. It's the corset that creates the hourglass silhouette so popular from the 1890s. Here's a top view of the same scene. The corset scene here is constructed from deep red silk satin, ridged with boning, and it has a front bust closure and most likely center back lacing. The lacing and the boning are what create the tapered waist and full bust and hips. Here is an example of a silk corset from around the same period, dating from between 1893 and 1897. You can see the many bone channels that create the exaggerated shape. This corset is created from a center front bust opening and rows of brass grommets, through which the lacings are woven through. Traditionally, the lacing finishes at the waist so that the emphasis can be placed on the waist. We are introduced to Vanessa's dearest friend Mina in a flashback scene from the 1880s in the Season 1 episode Closer Than Sisters. In a departure from Vanessa's usually dark palette, the bodice and skirt are constructed from blue woven silk taffeta. Unlike the sleeves from a decade later, the bodice features slim, 3/4 length sleeves, an embroidered pointed lace collar, and lace-trimmed cuffs. Like Mina's own gown, the bodice is tailored with double sets of darts on each side of the bodice opening and arm-side princess seams at the back. Being just a girl in her late teens, Vanessa wears her hair down. The front skirt panel is made from a contrasting soft blue silk and trimmed in braiding. Costume supervisor Oliva Pizzetti sent fabric to Florence for pleating because of the painstaking technique that was fashionable from the 1880s. You can see the extensive pleating and ruching, a French term which means to gather, ruffle, or pleat, in this close-up of this French vintage silk gown from the late 1870s. Vanessa wears a similarly constructed girlish bodice, trimmed with a cream guipure lace collar, in the scene with Sir Malcolm's son Peter, and at this moment he's believed to be Vanessa's intended. Vanessa's gown seen here is possibly constructed from vintage silk saris, but because of its weight and drape looks like silk pot de soie fabric. The scoop neck collar and bodice front panel are trimmed with cream and gold chantilly lace, with cream pearl buttons down the center front. The skirt features a lace front panel, while the skirt bustle and train are tacked at the back, revealing the pleated silk and ribbon trimmed hem. Here is a French cream silk ball gown from 1876 with the same open neckline and similar knife pleat trim on the hem. It's always fun to get a glimpse of Vanessa's formal attire, which are often a departure from the somber tones of her day dresses and walking outfits. Piscucci's favorite alternative color for Vanessa seems to be red, berry, and burgundy tones. For the Season 1 episode Seance, Vanessa wears this rich, magenta silk satin sleeveless gown, most likely from vintage saris. The shoulders of the elegant yet simple gown are decorated in jet beads and trimmed with strands of jet fringe. Letting the gown be the feature, she keeps the jewelry simple with black jet drop earrings. With a closer look, we see a black silk front bodice panel covered with jet appliques and beading. In the episode Demi-Monde, Vanessa's formal attire consists of a tailored bodice and tapered waist, gathered upper sleeves with soft gathers, and a slightly gathered A-line skirt. The gown is constructed from a dotted black silk satin fabric, while the front panel of the bodice has a softly pleated overlay in berry red silk. The Queen Anne collar and bodice are both bordered in wide jet bead trim and finished off with long strands of jet bead fringe. Jet is a type of lignite, a precursor to coal, and is considered to be a minor gemstone. These jet bead appliques are samples of vintage beaded works that costume designers might use in recreating the looks from the era. The black collar and décolleté of this sumptuous dark red silk gown are covered in jet beads and short fringe and sequins. The bodice has multiple darts on either side of the front panel, drawing the eye toward the deep pointed curve at the bottom. The hem of the bodice is piped in black silk. In a bit of uniqueness, cap sleeves are created with black dotted netting and a combination of short dyed black and red feathers like goose nagori and long, narrow black rooster-like feathers. The skirt is rounded over the hips and bustle with hanging red silk tabs at the skirt back lined in black silk. Upon closer inspection, you can see that Vanessa's feathered headpiece features a rhinestone scorpion. In this French gown, created by the House of Worth, we see this similar beaded fuchsia silk veil gown from the 1890s. This gown is trimmed with black lace, black jet beads, and black satin ribbon. Vanessa is pretty as a picture for her date with Dorian in the Season 1 episode What Death Can Join Together. The bodice, skirt, and train are constructed largely from black silk. The front skirt panel overlay and the 3/4 length sleeves are created with a sheer black net stamped with metallic gold polka dots. The Queen Anne neckline, sleeve cuffs, and front bodice panel are trimmed and decorated with rows of gold and jet beads. Vanessa finishes the look with a pair of simple gold and jet earrings. Here's another pretty look for Vanessa in the Season 3 episode, Predators Far and Near. The blouse is cream silk with a black bobbin lace overlay, black silk high neck collar, and cream and black lace cuffs. She wears it with an understated black pot de soie silk skirt. But my favorite part of the whole ensemble is this gorgeous pleated silk and jet capelet. These types of capes were very popular for evening attire in the late Victorian period. Here's an exquisite example by Émile Pingat from 1895. The cape is made from wool, silk, and jet beads. This 1895 French cape by Bon Marché is very similar to Vanessa's cape. This cape is made from silk and sequins. In the flashback sequence in the season 2 episode The Nightcomers, Vanessa searches out the cutwife in the English moors. She exchanges her silk gowns and lace for knits and woolens. Here she wears a cable knit cardigan jacket with a shawl collar, gathered sleeves, and a woolen scarf. Even though this look is rustic and in keeping with the setting, the jacket is still a fine piece. This style of sweater or Aran jumper originated in the Aran Islands, Ireland, and was a primary garment for Irish fishermen in the 1800s, each pattern representing a different clan. By about 1890, a distribution chain made the sweaters available throughout the United Kingdom. Vanessa wears it over a threadbare woven tunic and a wool pinstripe skirt with a pair of work boots. We see the tunic alone here without her sweater. In this final scene, Vanessa wears one of her black overcoats, one we've seen her wear in season 1. Upon Vanessa's retreat with Ethan to the Cutwife's cottage in episode 7, called The Little Scorpion, Vanessa wears another cardigan sweater. The teal blue sweater features a rib shawl collar, cuffs, and tie belt, and it's knitted with an Irish moss or seed stitch. In this scene, Vanessa wears a tailored gray cable knit sweater with a contrasting multicolored, oversized woven scarf with fringe details. She wears it with a gray wool A-line ankle-length skirt with welt pockets. In an alternative reality in the season 2 closer, the devil offers Vanessa a normal life that includes marriage and children. Vanessa wears a romantic tea gown over a dark foundation garment. The dress is constructed with cream linen or cotton lawn, gathered with pin tucks at the center front waist and pleats at the back. The yoke, cuffs, and skirt are made of cream eyelet lace and trimmed with pleated ribbon. The gown is fastened with a row of sweet pearlized buttons. You get a better look at lace and trim from this image and Vanessa's soft tendril updo. In the season 3 episode Ebb Tide, Vanessa wears this black chantilly lace-covered bodice with red silk lining. We get a better sense of the neckline here, the collar trimmed in ecru bobbin lace. Vanessa wears the same gown upon her meeting with Dr. Sweet. The high collar is offset by tiers of black chantilly lace and red satin ribbon like in a jabot. The cuffs are trimmed with black and ecru lace flounce and folds of red ribbon. Her hair is so soft at this point that she's completely abandoned the updo. Vanessa confronts Dracula in this gorgeous midnight blue floor-length silk coat and royal blue corset and skirt ensemble. The slim-fitting coat is decorated with 1-inch bands of black silk biased, and the ruched lower sleeves fastened with tiny black buttons. The royal blue striped silk corset is piped with contrasting blue silk as seen here in this promotional shot. In the show finale, Vanessa embraces her Bride of Dracula persona in this gothic champagne gown. The silk chiffon overlay is draped into little pleats along the asymmetrical figure-hugging bodice. The full skirt and what appears to be a train and falling sleeves drape onto the ground. I cannot tell for sure, but it appears that the hem of the gown has been dipped or stained with dye. Vanessa wears her overly long hair down and her eyes are painted burgundy, washing out her already fair complexion. The costume seems fitting, considering the ultimate sacrifice Vanessa makes to the world of darkness. This ends part 2 of the costumes of Vanessa Ives from the show Penny Dreadful. If you missed part 1, you can find it on my channel. If you have something to add to the conversation, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you like what you see, please subscribe and like my video. Thanks for watching.